Charlie Brennan, Voice of St. Louis, thanks for joining us. Okay, the big story in our land today is that the owner of the Rams, Stan Kroenke, plans to build an NFL stadium in Inglewood, California, and he's going to do it without taxpayer assistance, and we thought we'd ask a local developer to share his thoughts on it. He's Jim Sansone of the Sansone Group of St. Louis. Good morning, Jim. Welcome back to KMOX. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Good morning.
What do you think about this plan by Mr. Kroenke? And before we ask you, do you have a business relationship with Stan Kroenke in any way?
No, we don't.
Okay, very well. Well, what do you think?
Well, I think that it won't impact St. Louis's plans to build a new stadium. I think that we're an NFL town, and I think that the commission that the governor appointed, I don't think that will impact their movement to build a new stadium here in our town.
Trying to lure another NFL team here, maybe Jacksonville.
Could be, or the Rams. There's, as we all know, there's a few teams that are looking that are unhappy with their current situation, and as much as I personally would love to see the Rams stay here in St. Louis, I think more importantly, St. Louis is an NFL town, and we need to continue to move forward with our plans and ensure that we will have a NFL team here.
But would you use public money for that, Jim?
I think it's going to be necessary. Again, it's just my opinion. I think with the cost of the stadiums today, that without some form of subsidy, it would be extremely difficult.
And yet Kroenke's building his in Los Angeles without public subsidy.
Yeah, that's what it says. And that very well may be the case. I think it's going to be difficult to do that here in St. Louis. It very well may happen, but again, my opinion with the costs that are associated with building this, some form of subsidy, I think is going to be necessary.
I wonder where we're going to get that money, because the hotel-motel rent-a-car tax, I believe, applies through 2024 for the current dome. Now, maybe you could transfer that to a new facility. I wonder if you'd have enough money, if you wanted to do that, to take those existing revenues and apply them to a new football stadium, Jim.
Yeah, my understanding is that those are some of the opportunities that they're looking into in what ways that we might be able to finance a stadium here. Certainly the one you just suggested is, and there are others that I understand that they're going to be looking into. At the end of the day, maybe it's not going to take a subsidy, but again, my personal opinion is that it's going to require some form of tax or subsidy in order for a stadium to be built.
Well, maybe Kroenke feels in Southern California there's so much money, including corporate money, that he'll sell so many suites and VIP boxes that he won't need public subsidy. Frankly, we don't have the corporate atmosphere of Southern California, do we?
No, we don't.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't second guess Mr. Kroenke at all. And if he says that that's what he's going to do, then I think there's good reason to believe that that's something that he can do. But I agree with you. I think in St. Louis, we don't have that same corporate atmosphere. It's a very strong corporate atmosphere, but I think one that's going to have to be shared by all the citizens in and around St. Louis.
Jim, given all the needs of our area, police and schools, and the list goes on, do you think that public monies should be expended on an NFL franchise that plays 10 games a year in downtown St. Louis or somewhere else?
Well, I do think that an NFL franchise here in St. Louis is important to our economy and to the region. Those costs are going to have to be weighed against all the other things that you mentioned that are also very important. But I think that we cannot afford not to have an NFL franchise here in St. Louis. It's going to draw the type of people that we want to have here in St. Louis, which are the young folks, and the visitor base that we need. And St. Louis has always been that type of town, and we need to continue to move in that direction. I don't think we can afford not to have an NFL team in St. Louis.
Well, we've had the NFL for 20 years. Have we attracted visitors and young people to our town?
I think we have, and I think that it's becoming more and more. I think with the addition of Ballpark Village downtown, I think that we are moving in the right direction. There's certainly adjustments that are being made from a competition standpoint that Ballpark Village brought. But I think that we as a region need to continue to grow. And we can't be a second-class city. And in order to continue in the direction that we have been, we need to maintain an NFL team here in St. Louis, whether it be the Rams or another team.
Hey, Jim, thanks for taking our phone call today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on. Thank you, Charlie.
Hey, you bet. Jim Sansone of Sansone Group, those are his opinions. How about yours?